I started my very own science fiction and fantasy magazine. Hey, welcome to Truth Suffers. I'm Parker Sedecase, and this is a channel predicated on that ancient Fremen saying, truth suffers from too much analysis. I am a analytic philosopher by training and analytic theologian, and I've learned firsthand that truth suffers from too much analysis. If you want to teach good ideas, it's not enough to just give propositions and syllogistic reasons and arguments. You need to wrap good ideas in good stories. And so I started a science fiction and fantasy magazine in order to try and do that. I learned about this from C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, who were masters at wrapping good ideas in really good stories. They write in some of their essays, hey, you can go in the front door and you can write a strict, straight-up essay, or you can go in the side door and inculcate good ideas and sentiments in stories. So that's what I'm trying to do with my science fiction and fantasy magazine. I started it because of this young lady named Bridget who writes a Substack called Commonplace Zines. I believe that's right. I'll leave a link to the actual essay that got me into this, but it's something like, you should turn your Substack articles into a zine, something really clever like that. And I read the essay and I was like, man, what's a zine? And then I remembered zines are like personal magazines that you distribute yourself. And these were really big before the internet. Now, since the internet came along, people went to like chat boards and Reddit and all sorts of online places to discuss things. But before that, people were making their own personal zines, and it was kind of an outsider movement. It was like for tattoos and for like punk rock and anarchism and skateboarding, these kind of things. But people are getting burnt out by digital. Everything's digital. AI is everywhere and horrible. So people are reverting back to analog paper stuff. They're going back to physical zines. And so Bridget, in her essay, said, you should do this too. You're writing on Substack. You should turn your essays or your short stories into a physical zine. Now, I'd been thinking about doing this for a while. I was talking to my friend Christopher Rocchio, who is the author of the Sun Eater series, science fantasy series. Congrats on your 7th book, Christopher. And I was like, dude, I have a bunch of short stories. That's like the old school science fiction. The medium, it just was short stories. People were trying to get big ideas into the public through writing really cool short stories. And so I wanted to do that. I had started doing that on a different Substack. It's called Sages, Mages, and Wisdom Machines. You can find a link in the description. And I was trying to find a way for a publisher to pick that up. And Christopher was like, hey, dude, I'm sorry. People aren't really buying short stories anymore. Maybe it'll come back, but right now the market's not great for them. People want big old thick fantasy novels. So I was bummed about that until I read this piece by Bridget that said you should just turn your stuff into a zine and publish it yourself and distribute it yourself. So that's what I did. I started pulling some of my science fiction and fantasy short stories together and some of my essays on fantasy and science fiction, put that all into one place, and I called it Sages, Mages, and Wisdom Machines. So that's how I ended up starting my own magazine. It's a zine, a personal magazine, self-published. I found a really cool, really good printing service, Best Printing USA. They are fantastic. I love the quality of work that they do. I tried a bunch of different places in a really short period of time because I was hyper-focusing and obsessing over this. And Best Printing USA was the best. They're not paying me for a shout-out or anything. They're just very good at what they do. So check them out. So if you guys are thinking about starting your own zine, then definitely read that article that inspired me. And if you are already past that point and you want to start printing them up, then check out Best Printing USA. I'll leave all sorts of links in the comments. But now let me show you a closer look at issues 1 and 2, and I'll leave links in the description of where you can grab these at. It's on Etsy. I think it's parkerzine.etsy.com, but just follow the links. It's super duper easy. All right, so let me just show you a little bit of what's going on with issues 1 and 2 of my science fiction magazine. Here's issue 1. Yes, that's me on the cover. The name of the magazine is Sages, Mages, and Wisdom Machines, so I wanted some artwork of me being a sage and a mage and a wisdom machine. So I'm half robot here, android kind of thing, cyborg, with a wizard hat. Looks a little bit like Gandalf, but not if the Tolkien estate asks. And then there's the Philosopher's Stone which comes from alchemy, not just from Harry Potter lore. So I get to use it as well. So Sages, Mages, and Wisdom Machines, like I said, is a science fiction and fantasy magazine. So here's what you can get if you get issue 1 of my magazine. I have 4 short stories. Mary Saw Red is going to be about qualia. It's about Frank Jackson's Mary's Room argument, his thought experiment, which shows that qualitative experience is different than like physical facts. And so it's an argument for some form of dualism in the philosophy of mind. So I retell that story and flesh it out a little bit more. I have God's Warlock. Can't really say a whole ton about that without spoiling it. That's going to be a fantasy short story. I have Mushroom Revelations and Inscrutable Intelligence. And both of those are going to be about the nature of revelation and who we should trust about ultimate reality. Then I have 2 essays. The first is J.R.R. Tolkien versus Frank Herbert on the nature of power and corruption in The Lord of the Rings and in Dune. And then my second philosophical science fiction essay is on severance and why, according to some criteria that C.S. Lewis gave in his essay called Science Fiction, why severance is actually good science fiction according to C.S. Lewis. Then I also have 2 original poems here. The first is The Ring of Gyges Retold. This is a myth that comes from Plato's Republic and is definitely an inspiration for Tolkien's One Ring, the Ring of Power, Sauron's ring, the Master Ring. He definitely got that from Plato. I know people say, well, he never really mentioned it. The ring makes you invisible and corrupts you and helps you gain power. So yes, Tolkien for sure got that from Plato. And then there's A Wizard's Regret. I wanted to write the saddest wizard poem you'll ever read. So you can let me know if I accomplish that. You're going to find all sorts of original artwork in here. I give shout outs to all the artists that I use. I love original, real artwork and real human beings, and I hate generative AI stuff. So you'll never find any generative AI in any of my work. You'll always find human art. You'll never see me using AI to edit my stuff ever, ever, ever. I don't do that, and I won't do that. So you're going to get real human artwork in my magazine, and that's that. So that's issue number 1 of Sages, Mages, and Wisdom Machines. Here is issue number 2, and this is going to be the first printing, so it's going to differ just slightly from the second printing. I actually ordered the wrong size, so this is an A5. I like A5s. All the rest will always be an A5 unless I mess up like I did here. So this is going to be like that half sheet of paper. This is an A5 size, so the A5 is a little bit shorter and more squat. It's wider and shorter than the half sheet there. But some people like this. Don't get excited about it. It's not going to stay around. So here is issue number 2. Let me actually show you. These are all sold out, the first printing. But the second run, you can get these on Etsy right now on Parker Zines. Here we're going to have 5 short stories this time. Unfortunate Luck is one of my favorite short stories that I've ever written. I'm looking to turn that into a graphic novel, so be on the lookout for that. A Mighty Man's Pierced Heart is a retelling of Benaiah from the Old Testament. He was one of David's Hagaborim, or his mighty men. And all we really know about him is that he fought a lion in a pit on a snowy day. But I want to fill out that story a little bit more, so check that out. Really cool artwork there from another really cool artist. Finding It Perfect is about the ontological argument, especially St. Anselm's ontological argument. Upgraded Prayers and the Galactic Poo it's a guest post, a guest story by Frankie Chocolate, who may or may not be my own very father. And then The Sage of the Fallen Moon is the cover art. That's what that's for. Sage of the Fallen Moon. There's the full picture there. You can see the full picture back here as well. This is just beautiful, beautiful artwork by really cool artists. So then I have 3 essays in this one. So this is going to be a little bit longer. It's about 80 pages. We have Conan the Philosopher, where I go over a anti-skeptical argument that Robert E. Howard drops in Queen of the Black Coast. So that's really short, but really pithy and punchy. It's a really fun essay that I wrote. Technology is Magic. Use it like a Jedi, not a Sith, is about the philosophy of technology and how that plays in fantasy stories. It's gonna go over Heidegger's philosophy of technology, which unfortunately is really, really good. I don't really like Heidegger, but you can't avoid him in the philosophy of tech. And then my review of James Gunn's Superman. And that's going to delve into this idea of meta-modernism. Then I just have one poem here. It's called My New Toy. You'll have to read it and see what that one's about. But we got some really cool artwork in this one as well. Super stoked. And if you buy the second printing, I actually added a couple more pages. This is going to be 80, where this is, I think, 76. I added some new artwork that I've been working on. This is actually concept art for the graphic novel for Unfortunate Luck. Here's a mighty man's pierced heart. So I don't know if I should show you all the artwork. Maybe we should leave something to be desired, but I'll just flip through so you can see at a glance. This is what you're going to get if you pick up issue number 2. I've also started doing variant covers because I love that comic books do that. I think they definitely overdo it. If you look at the new issues of Battle Beast, which is in the Invincible universe, there's like 14 different variant covers. It's like, you guys, settle down. This is just a cash grab at this point. Give us 1, maybe 2 variant art covers. 2 is probably too much. Just give us 1 so we can have 1 here, the original, and then 1 specialty one that, is more rare or something like that. That's cool. So that's what I'm doing. I love this picture so much. This is from Volodymyr Yanovsky. I think that's how I say his name, or how you're supposed to say his name. And he's from the Ukraine. He's one of my favorite artists. He is great. I just love this picture so much. So I had to do a variant cover. So I'm going to probably go back to issue 1 and do another variant cover of the Mushroom Revelations one. I just love that so much. Where are we at? There we go. So that may be the variant cover. And I think for the variants, I will do the SM and WM instead of the full title and subtitle there. So there's a look at my science fiction and fantasy zine. If you guys want to pick that up, there are some copies available right now, depending on, I guess, when you're watching this video. But you can check those out at parkerzines.etsy.com, maybe? At Parker Zines on Etsy. You can find the link in the description or the pinned comment. Check those out. And I ship all over the world. So I've been shipping literally all over the world. It's been insane. I know shipping is going to get really crazy and expensive if you are in Australia or Saudi Arabia or something like that. So I also offer digital zines, digital copies of these, which kind of goes against the ethos of the zine. But if you like digital, or if you can't pay $20 for shipping, which is more expensive than the zine itself, then feel free to just grab the digital copy. And again, if you want to support my work further, you can check out parkerfiction.substack.com. Again, the link will be in the pinned comment or in the description. And you can find all of my science fiction and fantasy short stories right there on my fiction Substack. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but with my science fiction and fantasy short stories, at the end, I will drop a bunch of knowledge on you in behind the curtain sections. So there, if you see the black tombstone, that's where the end of the story is. And then I drop a behind the curtain section to help you understand more of the philosophy or the theology that's going on in the short story. So I want you to learn. I want to entertain you with good stories, for sure. But this is philosophical fiction, first and foremost. So I want you to learn some philosophy in a way that really sticks, that helps you grasp onto it and go deeper and further into the philosophical landscape. So I hope you guys like that. I hope you guys like zines, because zines are awesome. All right, that's going to do it for now. I'll catch you guys in the next video.